Hmm. 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 Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for waiting. Welcome to the Elbers third quarter 22 earnings conference call. This webcast is being recorded and simultaneously translated. If you need simultaneous translation, we have this tool available located at the bottom of your screen, the interpretation globe. Then you can choose the language you prefer, Portuguese or English. For those listening to the conference in English, there is an option to mute the original Portuguese audio, just clicking on Mute Original Audio. Participants will only watch and listen during the company's presentation, after which we will open for the Q&A session. If you need help or want to ask a question, please use the Q&A icon on the bottom of your screen. Before proceeding, we'd like to inform that any statement made during this webcast related to the company's business perspectives, projections, and operation and financial goals are based on the beliefs and assumptions of Elber's management and on information currently available to the company. Forward-looking statements are not guarantee of the company's performance. They involve risk, uncertainties, and assumptions because they relate to future events and therefore depend on circumstances that may or may not occur. General economic conditions, industry conditions, and other operational factors can lead to future results that differ materially from those expressed in such forward-looking statements. Now, I will turn the floor to Mr. Henry Borenstein, President of the company. Good afternoon to all those who are watching this Elbers earning conference call. Along with our sales director, Marcelo Bonanata, our finance and investor relations, Franco Gerardetti, we are here to share with you the company's results for the third quarter of 2022. Before starting this quarter's highlight, I would like to pay a posthumous tribute to our board member, Mr. Paulo Liberbort, who passed away on September 7th. I'd like to leave a special thank for the relevant services he provided to the company, in addition to sending our condolences to the family. Talking about the third quarter of this year, it is worth maintaining that it remained challenging, just like the previous quarters. But once again, we managed to end the period with positive operational and financial indicators, continuing the recovery cycle with favorable results generated by the company. And in this sense, it is worth noting that we recorded one of the best quarters of total sales and reached for the 9th consecutive quarter of net income. Regarding launch, we started selling 2 new developments that total a net PSV of 228 million reais. Highlight for the first stage of the first phase of Fazenda Itapetí, whose sales reached 9% by the end of the quarter. It is worth remembering that this is a project that still has a second phase that will be launched next year. We would also like to reinforce that we will continue to pay attention to the macroeconomic and market indicators before making a decision regarding the projects we plan to launch by the end of this year and beginning of the next year. I take the opportunity to thank on behalf of Elber for the trust placed by investors over the years and reaffirm our commitment, maintaining our business model, generating value for the shareholders and for the outstanding sector. Before closing, I'd like to point out that we had another event, Só a Elber Tem, on November 5th and 6th in the city of São Paulo. And On November 19 and 20, we will hold the same event in the cities of Mogi das Cruzes and Curitiba. The purpose of this event is to reduce the company's inventory finished, reinforcing once again the company's commitment to reduce its leverage and generating positive results. Now, Franco Gerodetti, Marcelo Bonatata will present Elbo's main operational and financial data. Thank you, Henry. I will go briefly by the highlights of the third quarter. As we mentioned before, we had a very relevant sales value, one of the best quarters in the history of the company, with 200% referring to the 40% of production and 40% of launching. The SOS of launch was significant, and we have in this quarter with the SVOG of 2,000 reais. Our net revenue was of 277 reais. Our gross margin reached 27.3%, keeping in line with what we saw in the last quarters. And finally, we have a commitment of 10 million reais, going for the 9th consecutive quarter of positive results for the company. I now give the floor to Bona, that will talk about our operational performance. Good afternoon. It's a good pleasure to be with you. Talking about our land bank, the total was 10.1 billion, Elba share 6.2, concentrated in 35 projects, and 71%, 2/3 of our land bank is in the city of São Paulo. The other part, 21%, in the Great São Paulo region, providing this mobility that we've been presenting. The next slide shows the distribution of our land bank. We do this according to the business model. It's a more plural model. We have no concentrations, neither in one single place or product. The company still holds land in very good places: Jardins, Itaim, Vila Nova, Moema, Chácara Santo Antônio. It's important to say that this year we launched some iconic developments. One in Jardins, we have almost 80% of the units sold. We started in March. So it shows the importance of launching in good locations. And you see in this map, we have places that are renewed, well-known, and in the last launches, with 7.7 billion potential and 4.4 is the Elba share of potential. Talking about launches that Henry mentioned, we had a great happiness of launching 2 developments this quarter. One, this so long expected Fazenda Itapetí, with a big farm, and we have our expectations met. 80% of the units were sold. And we saw the project and the importance that we were keeping with us over time. We were able to put into practice. We restart to the second phase, 260 more allotments, and we will start the sales as of March next year. And the other development launched was Elbor Pátio São Bernardo, our patio line. It's a project where we have flexible apartments with service structure, giving to the client this convenience in a so competitive market like the city of São Bernardo. We sold 60%. Today we have 72% of units sold, and we are ready to open the second phase, the second tower that we will open this month. So it's a great success of this development. Contracted sales, as Franco mentioned, this is one of the quarters of greatest relevance. We reached 470 million reais, 25% more than the last quarter and 11% more than the quarter of the previous year. It's important to highlight this performance, not only in the launches, but also a strong work in the sales of our inventory and ready units. We had a slight drop, but it's in line with what we are working. Now, the SOS, the total of 10.4, we went to 3.2, and Elbor share from 10.5 to 11.5. On the next slide, we see our inventory. It drops to 3.2 billion, Elbor share in 2 billion, 93 located in the Southeast. I think the composition is important. We have an important highlight of our high standard inventory. Since last year until now, we had an important performance in the sales of these high standard units. Much to do with the location, we return to the sales, and we've seen significant results in Artefato and Leopoldo. We are in line to launch a high standard project in Dom Lourenço Street. So this just to confirm the high standard developments. Our ready inventory is selling well, almost 20% of the total inventory, and we always mention the legacy inventory, but we've been able every quarter, as Eddie highlighted. Last week we had the Elbor Banking. It's the largest real estate sales in Brazil. We have two more, one in Curitiba and the other in Mogi, and for sure will be very successful, and we will reduce our inventory. And now I'd like to ask Franco to continue with the financial data. Thank you. This is our net operating revenue of 267 million in this quarter. When you see the graph, it's important to remember that in 21, we had a significant number of deliveries. So this, and as of 22, we didn't have any deliveries this year, but at the same time, we spent the entire year in construction for 21, 22. We built without delivering, so increase on revenue from the second to the third quarter, and later on we will see the results of all this in the increase of our backlog revenue. This is our gross profit. As I mentioned, we continue keeping our gross margin in the same levels at 27, 28%. As we mentioned in other points, Elbur's business model is slightly different from what we see in the market. We don't have a construction company. Within our organization, we hire a third party. So this is what creates the resilience of our gross margin. If you compare the margin we had from our legacy in 21 to 22, you see that even the legacy has a certain margin, and this will continue to point to the margin we had some years ago, around 30, 31%. And as I mentioned, when we look our revenue and our margin, we are following our revenue here, results of the sales and the advancement of our works. So we have here our backlog margin next to 33%. And this is the general and administrative expenses. The company is very strict with this VGA. We are comparing 21 with 22. We saw a boost, an increase in inflation rates. That's why in the annual comparison, we see an increase, but we are very comfortable in terms of general and administrative expenses. Going very quickly through the net results of the parent company, we are in line with the last quarters. Obviously, what harms us a little is the debt level vis-a-vis the interest rate. You can see clearly that we are keeping the same level in the last quarters. Now, talking about indebtedness, as I mentioned, this is the year that we don't have any deliveries, so there is no repass, and I keep the financing to the production, and this reflects on the company's cash and corporate debts. This was expected for 22, a year with an increase of indebtedness, but we know that both 23 and 24 will be very strong years concerning deliveries that will balance the year of 2022. Our cash burn due to everything I said, it was expected to have a quarter like we had in the second quarter. Basically, two major factors. We still have some reinforcements and some efforts on the works when we started the works until we reach the part of financing. We need to put our own resources. We did something with previous contracts, the policy of the land bank of the company is kept on hold because we are in a very comfortable position, but we had some commitments taken in the past. Sorry, but this will not affect the balance of the company. So basically, that's it. I'd like to thank you for your participation. And now we will open for the Q&A session. In case you have a question, please send it through the icon #Q&A. We have a question from Bruno from the PG. Good afternoon. Can you comment how you felt the market for sales in October and what is the expectations for the end of the year? How do you think on the margins for the new phases of a Fazenda Itapetí? We will have any change in size or target audience? October was a good month. Slightly above our expectations because of the elections, but it was quite satisfactory. We sold of all things, and now in the beginning of December, our event Soil Botem was a great success, and now I can say that October was satisfactory. November was also very good. Things are happening. It's not easy. We are working hard with this power to convince the client, but when the client he decides to acquire it, it takes a little longer, but things are happening. And concerning Fazenda Rodeio, yes, the products are similar. We met, but the sizes are similar. And we changed the table, the pricing table. We repassed the inflation on the tables. So we were able to see this actual gain. So we have good expectation for the development. It's important to highlight the sales of the high standard. And the good news here is the retake of the W sales. The W was launched, but unfortunately we had the pandemics with no stand, with no decorated unit. But we had to wait, and finally its time has come. We start to sell in the second semester, and every month it's providing a good response. We have the Cidade de São Paulo, Closeto Juscelino. It's a very important location in São Paulo. And on Fazenda Rodeio, it's important to highlight the target audience. The first time, the first phase was for the people living around the city. We didn't even start any advertising. And now that we will take the second phase to the market, but we believe that will not be only the inhabitants of Mogi that will come. This will reach the other areas of São Paulo, Guarulhos, Osasco, and Fazenda Itapoti was the first development, 714 allotments, and we launched it. And we have, with the approval for another development, a second development in Fazenda Itapiti with almost 600 allotments. This for the next years. Our next question is from Bruno Mendonça from Bradesco. What will be the strategies the company will put in practice to reduce leverage? Thank you, Bruno, for your question. I think the strategy will be the same, to sell the units, generate cash, and pay our obligations. It's worth mentioning, when the leverage of the company increased, we had about 2 billion reais of ready units paying condo and the taxes. So the value that we did in the last years. And another point to remember that is really important is that this year we didn't deliver any development. If you look, just for you to have an idea, next year we have in inventory 900 million reais. And with 200 million, we will have paid everything, and we have 700 million reais. And then we see the leverage of the company reducing. You know, this is a sector where things happen every quarter. We are here to meet our investors, but we do not build a development in 3 months. So we are with great expectations. We are prepared for this new government, but operationally, Elbor has delivered good results for the size of the company. Every quarter, we sell well, we improve the margin. So for sure, there is so long dreamed leverage will be started next year, and 24 will be even smaller. If you look to this quarter, that today the company has a higher volume of debt of things that were held, the funding of the works that are ongoing. Just to remind, when we talk about next year, when we get to the final day of all works of next year, we are talking about almost 600 million reais. So when we deliver everything next year, we will have 600 million reais, and the expectation and with this we expect to have cash for the company, and we made the decision in corporate operation. So this will be the scenario. And 2024 is also with similar numbers, with products that helped us in the last years to push to increase our margin. So we will do what we were expecting, leverage this increasing gross margin both for 23 and 24. Our next question is from Mariangela Castro. She is asking to talk more about cash burn, the main reasons and the expectations. The main reason is to spend the year with no deliveries. We don't see that effect of cash generation in the beginning of the project. So this changes significantly next year. We'll have 3 deliveries next year. If you look the PSV of this the development that we are going to deliver is 1.4 billion. This is the total PSV of all developments. So the expectation is that as of the second or third quarter, when we have a concentration of delivery, we will see a development. It starts in the beginning of the next year with 2 products, and then we will continue until the end of the year, and 24 also with very similar numbers. During the year, we had commitments with the parent company, both regarding the works and the pre-sales period with initial resources and the construction of stands. We have something also to pay some piece of land, and we had the debt service that also impacts because the interest rate is very high, and this contributes negatively to our cash burn. we have a question from an individual investor, Amadeo. And what about the mutual rescission and in the new sales? This is a good news we have. I would say that we consulted the legislation, we tested legislation, and it is really working. So our number of mutual rescission is very low nowadays, but very in line with the sector. Since we'll have next year, we'll have a large a number of deliveries, maybe there is some change, but this is natural according to the cycle and the moment of the delivery. But unfortunately, we are not so concerned and we haven't seen any increase in the mutual rescissions request. I'd like to add, we've been measuring this month by month. We are concerned with mutual rescission because we suffered a lot in the past. So we see this by development, by region, and in the recent past, we created the installment that traditionally was paid, would to be paid in the key delivery. We anticipated it we advanced it for 6 months before. So it seems silly or simple, but this made a difference. We do this with the client, or we sell the unit, so we are able of having a good speed in relation to these risks, and we are following month after month, even with all the adversities that the country is facing. The company decided to sign the agreement, and the stand, this will give us a better position. The client that bought Itapetí, he already signed the deed and paid the taxes. We see the sector and also Elbor, we suffered a lot. So we are very careful with this mutual rescission subject. Well, I think that's what we had for today. In case you have any other question or if you want any other type of information, please contact our IR team. These are the communication channels, and we have also our website. So we are closing our earnings presentation, and I give the floor to Henry for final considerations. Thank you, our team. I'd like to thank our collaborators and say that we are doing our job. We are concerned with this new next year, but we are optimists. The company will only put to the give to the market those developments that are worthy, and we will care for our leverage. The things we will deliver next year are perfect, and this is important, with all the works on time, within the course. So this is very positive. And I'd like to thank for your participation. Have a nice afternoon.